From the nation's capital, Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. A weekly discussion about the federal issues most important to Nevada. And now, from Washington, D.C., here's Marilee Joyce.
And good day to you. I'm Marilee Joyce. This is Eye on Washington, the only statewide Nevada news program produced in Washington, D.C. Every week, Eye on Washington takes you straight to Capitol Hill for a discussion with Nevada's delegation and other leaders about the federal matters that matter to you. Today's topic, from Washoe to Washington, we'll tell you about the influence the leader of the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County has with national leaders and policymakers, and how that translates to better transit service for you at home. And my special guest today is Mr. Lee Gibson, the Executive Director of the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County. Thanks for being here again today.
Thanks.
We have seen and heard my guest on this show many times, and so you know that there is a huge federal side to state and county transportation. But today on Eye on Washington, we're going to tell you how important it is that Mr. Gibson has close relationships with the Nevada delegation members, as well as appointments to and connections with national and international transportation associations, and how all this means a better planned, better working, better funded transportation system for Nevada. Well, you know my guest as a Washoe County top transportation leader, as well as an advocate for a strong transportation system for the whole state of Nevada. I further know him as a leader I seek frequently here in Washington, D.C. Not only is Mr. Gibson an appointed member of very prestigious Washington, D.C.-based American Public Transportation Association, but he also maintains strong ties to the Nevada delegation and works directly with them, helping shape the federal legislation that strengthens Nevada's transportation and infrastructure. Crucially, his work here with the delegation helps determine the allocation of Nevada's transportation budget. So when you're enjoying a walk on a new bike path or easier drive to work or school thanks to widened or added roads or even new electric buses, well, just know that that gentleman to my left may have influenced the legislation and or the funding that made it happen. Now, Mr. Gibson, first of all, welcome back to Eye on Washington. Thanks for being here again. I want to start with this. You are known as Washoe County's transportation leader, but you do work closely with the full delegation here. You know, an example, I know that you're close to both Congresswoman Titus and Congressman Hardy, both Nevada's voices on the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. You know, in fact, you appeared with Congresswoman Titus on my program just recently, didn't you?
That's right. And of course, we're very fortunate in Nevada. We have two representatives on the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, and they're both in the different parties. So it's very advantageous for us. That subcommittee of Highway and Transit is important for the policy development. Not only does she influence and Congressman Hardy influence funding, they influence the regulations. They influence the process we have to follow. They influence the ability and balance of equities, if you will, between big northeastern cities and western cities. And through our members on that committee, subcommittee, and on the whole Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, we're able to seek balanced regulations, balanced policy, and be able to build the infrastructure we need to build. And a good case in point is the FTA Small Starts program. That program, the funds that have been allocated to the Washoe County RTC are all going to help make 4th Prater Street a signature corridor project in the nation. We're going to be the first electric bus BRT project, bus rapid transit project. And through the ladders of opportunity and the ability of us to move folks to new jobs, new educational opportunities, we're going to help set that standard and help set a best practice for our nation to follow. We all, from the delegation to my board of directors, to the staff of the RTC, to the Nevada Department of Transportation, we're all very proud of being able to participate in such an effort.
You know, you're on the bike path, or you're on the bus on the way to work, or you're driving your car down, you know, some road in somewhere in Washoe County and just enjoying the day. But you're not really thinking about the funding that went into making that road smooth, or that pedestrian walkway, crack-free, et cetera. I know you work alongside our delegation and other transportation leaders out here, and people who have a direct influence on that budget. Take us from A to B. How do close connections with these leaders help lead to smooth streets at home?
Well, I'm going to try to answer that maybe along two ideas. One is the authorization process, the process by which laws are created that set the rules, and then the appropriations process. That is the laws that are then implemented to allocate and spend money. So on the authorization side, working again with Congresswoman Titus and Congressman Hardy, we're able to help set the rules, we're able to work through the different regulations that are required. So for example, in the highway and transit side, we look at all of the different regulations that come from FTA regarding how our projects are to be shown to provide mobility benefits, to provide land use benefits and economic development benefits. So working with them, we can help set those rules and we can help create a playing field, if you will, that will give us hopefully some advantages to move our projects forward. On the appropriation side, working very closely with the Nevada member, Congressman Amodei, we're able to really focus our efforts on making sure that the monies are being appropriated to the projects and being spent. Working with our Senate partners, Senator Heller and Senator Reed, again, same type of concept. We're working through the appropriations process, but we're also working through the authorization process, bringing them all together. We really want them, and we work very closely with them in the conference process to make sure Nevada comes out on top and Nevada's projects are rising to the top. You
mentioned that you were, after leaving here, you have a meeting with so-and-so, you have a meeting with so-and-so, you're meeting with so-and-so on the delegation. And I'm curious, when you're still in Nevada setting your agenda for Washington, what do you say to yourself? It's critical I achieve X when I'm in Washington.
My goal when I come back here is to...
In general and specifically with the delegation.
What I want to focus on with the delegation is making sure they're up to speed with what we are seeing as challenges with the federal government. Making sure they understand our needs to perhaps influence the administration or look at a new proposed legislation to change a law. That's what we're focused on.
Great, thank you. When we return, well, he's making sure that public transportation is available and accessible, not only to Washoe residents, but for all Americans in every community. How? We're going to explain right after this.
You're watching Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, brought to you by Caesars Entertainment, the Las Vegas Sands Corporation, the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, Boyd Gaming, NB Energy, the Regional Transportation Commission of Southern Nevada, Rogich Communications Group, and Jim Marsh Automotive.
I got my own iPod Touch and used my dad's login to get on gambling sites. Poker is the best, but I'm losing a lot. Since I'm too young to play, they're not allowed to keep the money and my dad won't find out. That's right, isn't it?
Want more federal news that affects Nevada, its businesses, and its residents? Then you need to subscribe to Nevada's Washington Watch newsletter, your sole source of online news direct from Washington, D.C. Visit joycecommunications.com and subscribe today.
All of us at Caesars Entertainment have something we want to say.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
We don't want you to gamble if you've had too much to drink.
You shouldn't gamble if you're lonely or depressed.
And if you're under 21, you're not allowed to play.
No, no, no.
No matter which of our casinos you come to, our message is always the same.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
We know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
Welcome back to Eye on Washington, our discussion of the influence Washoe County's top transportation leader wields here in our nation's capital. And he is my guest today, Mr. Lee Gibson, the Executive Director of the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County. Well, there is a Washington, D.C.-based national and international association considered the leading force in advancing public transportation, and my guest is among its appointed members. The American Public Transit Association, which serves America and Canada, works to strengthen and improve public transportation. The goal is to ensure that public transportation is available and accessible for every individual in every community. APTA has been representing the transit industry for more than 130 years. APTA members serve the public interest by providing safe, efficient, and economical transit services, and by improving those services to meet national, energy, environmental, and financial concerns. They're engaged in the areas of bus, paratransit, light rail, commuter rail, subways, waterborne passenger services, and high-speed rail. Mr. Gibson, why is it important to Washoe and the state of Nevada that you have been appointed to the association? I think you were appointed fall of 2012.
Correct. I'm on the board of directors of the American Public Transportation Association. I'm also the vice chair of the APTA Policy and Planning Committee. This is one of the largest and strongest committees of APTA. It is also the committee that's directly focused with and will be a critical communication link between our industry and the incoming administration. We're headed for a presidential election in 2016. I'll be the chair for 2016 and 2017.
Wow,
and so I'll be representing the industry as we look at the rules, the regulations, and the spending priorities that the transit industry wants to pursue with the next president and the next set of programs that will be coming through the U.S. DOT.
So the Policy and Planning Committee, it really ties into a lot of things that you've shared about your focuses when you've been on the show before, because you've always stressed the huge importance of very detailed planning.
Exactly. I'm a planner by training and education. I'm very proud of that. I think the more we look to the future, the more we scenario the future, and the more we think of alternative scenarios for our future, the better off we're going to be, because we'll be able to look at contingencies. What my goal coming into the APTA Policy and Planning Chairmanship for the next 2 years is going to be is to make sure we work very effectively, irrespective of what party takes the White House, to continue to build the strong partnerships that exist between local and federal government and the public sectors and the private sectors, so we can continue to fund, finance, and deliver public transportation in our nation and in Nevada, and specifically in Washoe County. We have an evolving and changing and dynamically improving economy. Choices is what we hear in our planning process at home about what people want in their transportation system. Building the rules, the regulations, and the administration initiatives through APTA is going to be very important for us to make sure we fulfill and meet the growing transportation needs of our rapidly changing economy. In
the several years now that you've led RTC Washoe, you've spearheaded and seen to success things you've created, new programs, new projects, and some also improvements over things that were there before. What successes have you shared with APTA colleagues that have helped maybe them in their communities, and what ideas have you brought back from Washington with your meetings at APTA and taken home with you?
I think the ideas that I've brought from APTA back home have been the ideas surrounding everything from improved use of technology and social media and public involvement to really focusing and building and leveraging upon all modes of transportation and trying to take all modes of transportation into consideration in project development and building multimodal projects for our community. And that's what's really at the heart of the Fourth Prater Project and the Virginia Street Project. I think what we have transmitted, the best practices we've transmitted back to the nation are medium-sized metropolitan areas are major players in our transportation and transit industry specifically. There are rapidly growing needs, and we need to see legislation that's going to come back and help us fulfill our needs. The large metropolitan areas, yes, I understand they get the bulk of the ridership, but the Reno-Sparks area that's really at the tip of the megapolitan area of San Francisco, is going to need attention in mass transit. We're going to need to build a solid transportation system and public transportation system that's going to support that new economy, and we're going to have to do it through public-private partnerships. We need the rules and the funding to help that be achieved. That's what we're delivering as my message to APTA and what we'll be delivering as a message to the incoming administration.
When we return, my guest's influence over the nation's roadways. That's next.
Nevada's direct link to Capitol Hill. Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. The only statewide Nevada news show based in Washington, D.C. All the top federal matters that matter most to Nevadans. Marilee talks with our congressional delegation and other leaders about the federal news you need to know. Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. Nevada's Eye on Capitol Hill.
I got my own iPod Touch and use my dad's login to get on gambling sites. Poker is the best, but I'm losing a lot. Since I'm too young to play, they're not allowed to keep the money and my dad won't find out. That's right, isn't it?
All of us at Caesars Entertainment have something we want to say.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
We don't want you to gamble if you've had too much to drink.
You shouldn't gamble if you're lonely or depressed.
And if you're under 21, you're not allowed to play.
No, no, no.
No matter which of our casinos you come to, our message is always the same.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
We know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
I'm a teacher. Let me tell you what I make. I make learning a privilege, not a chore, and frustration a tool, not an obstacle. I make working hard seem easy and giving up impossible. I make an old subject feel like a fresh thought and unconventional methods common. I'm a teacher. I make more.
I got my own iPod Touch and use my dad's login to get on gambling sites. Poker is the best, but I'm losing a lot. Since I'm too young to play, they're not allowed to keep the money and my dad won't find out. That's right, isn't it?
Oh, hey, bud. Where are you headed?
Just gonna hang out.
With Gary and Todd?
Yeah.
I've been meaning to ask you, is there any drinking going on in this crowd?
No.
If any of your buddies ever pressure you to take a drink, just tell them you promised your dad you wouldn't. I'd do anything to keep you safe.
Okay, I will.
I hope this is working.
I promise. Love you too, Dad.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
And welcome back to Eye on Washington, our discussion of a Washoe leader's Washington influence. We've been visiting with him, of course, Mr. Lee Gibson, the Executive Director of the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County. Well, last segment, we talked about Mr. Gibson's membership on the Washington, D.C.-based American Public Transit Association. So far we know that he is holding say and sway over congressional transportation legislation and funding, and is a major voice on public transit decisions in in Canada. So let's look specifically now at his work on our roadways. Another group my guest works closely with is the American Association of the State Highway and Transportation Officials. AASHTO serves highway and transportation departments in the 50 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico. It represents all transportation modes, including air, highways, public transportation, rail, and water. Its top goal, transportation solutions that lead to economic prosperity, enhance quality of life, and improve safety. Well, luckily for Nevada, my guest has close ties to AASHTO President Bud Wright, another president he consults here in Washington as he determines Nevada transportation strategy. So tell us more about AASHTO and how it helps Nevada and other states.
Well, AASHTO is the professional organization that the State Department of Transportations belong to. So Nevada DOT, Rudy Malfabon, the director, play very central roles. I have known Bud Wright for many, many years. He's actually, will tell you, he's lived in two places all his life, the Washington, D.C. area and Carson City. Oh. He worked for the Federal Highway Administration, and he was a division administrator for Nevada back in the 90s. So Bud got an up-close and personal understanding of all of the unique transportation needs of our metropolitan areas and our rural areas. And he was a great advocate during his time at FHWA for advancing the state of the art in highway design and delivery that has really helped us stay in, well, at least helped us deal with the rapid growth that we've experienced.
So you've made clear that you are very close to Mr. Wright. How does it help Nevadans that you guys have that relationship?
Again, similar to the role with the American Public Transportation Association, actually many of the rules that pertain to public transportation also pertain to highway planning. Oh. So bringing those rules in harmony and looking for opportunities to synchronize those rules, leverage each of the rules off of each other, and help develop multimodal projects, that's always an advantage. We're always looking for ways that when we go into a corridor, when we go onto a street, we want to fix everything. We want to fix the sidewalks, the bike lanes, the roadway, the transit system, so that our customers only have to experience construction once. We want to do that by making sure that those rules are working for our favor.
You know, it seems that AASHTO's goals mesh perfectly with yours as well. Their goals are transportation commissions that improve the economy, safety, quality of life.
That's right. And AASHTO, what I struggle with is, we're very fortunate. The legislature in Nevada had a lot of wisdom when they created RTCs. It created a planning organization, a transit organization, and a highway organization, and put them all under one umbrella, one agency. So we're very fortunate in our ability to do multimodal projects. I get a lot of calls from folks all over the country who say, you know, I wish we could do that. Working with AASHTO, working with the Nevada DOT, again, we can be often held as the example of best practice for the nation to look to how best deliver planning programs, because what's the best measure of a delivery of a planning program? Building the facility that you planned. And that's exactly what we do in our state. That's exactly what we do at the RTC of Washington.
You know, I read part of the AASHTO strategic plan is to communicate the value of transportation. And that's another thing you've mentioned as being crucial to you in Nevada. You shared with me on a recent program we did on public transit that transportation has a much larger impact on the Nevada economy than most people realize.
Absolutely. Remember what we are. We're a bridge state. We're the bridge between the rest of the country and California, which is what the 5th largest economy in the world. So making sure that we can move people, goods, and provide opportunity for all is really an important piece of what we do, especially in partnership with the Nevada Department of Transportation. Being able to leverage our federal funds, be able to maximize the use of federal rules and policies to help deliver that interstate commerce better, more efficiently, and help create jobs along the way is really an important part of what we're doing. That's why we see a lot of the new jobs being developed out at the Tahoe Regional Industrial Center. That's why we see the Sparks Industrial Center as a very vibrant area. It's why a lot of shippers and freight companies are locating to our area, and it's something we have to continue to do. We're working on a freight plan right now with NDOT, and we're hopefully going to have a way forward, if you will, for future investments in multimodal and intermodal facilities. So it's a really great time for bring our organizations and our agency together with the private sector and get things done.
And when we return, Mr. Gibson's federal legislation wish list. That's right after this.
All of us at Caesars Entertainment have something we want to say.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
We don't want you to gamble if you've had too much to drink.
You shouldn't gamble if you're lonely or depressed.
And if you're under 21, you're not allowed to play.
No, no, no.
No matter which of our casinos you come to, our message is always the same.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly.
Play responsibly. We know you're coming to our casinos to have a good time, and we always want you to leave feeling like you did.
Nevada's direct link to Capitol Hill. Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce. The only statewide Nevada news show based in Washington, D.C. all the top federal matters that matter most to Nevadans. Marilee talks with our congressional delegation and other leaders about the federal news you need to know. Eye on Washington with Marilee Joyce, Nevada's Eye on Capitol Hill.
I got my own iPod Touch and use my dad's login to get on gambling sites. Poker is the best, but I'm losing a lot. Since I'm too young to play, they're not allowed to keep the money and my dad won't find out. That's right, isn't it?
It's already rented.
If you believe you've been discriminated against in housing because of your race, color, religion, national origin, sex, familial status, or disability, call HUD or visit hud.gov/fairhousing. Fair housing is your right. Use it.
Having your child hospitalized can be a terrifying experience for any parent. In one moment, everything can change. Here at the Reno Ronald McDonald House, we can help. We keep families together when it matters the most by providing a home away from home for families with children in the hospital. Parents who stay at the Ronald McDonald House have more time with their children during the healing process. Please contact us today for more information and to see how you can help. Donate online at rmhc-reno.org.
Want more federal news that affects Nevada, its businesses, and its residents? Then you need to subscribe to Nevada's Washington Watch newsletter, your sole source of online news direct from Washington, D.C. Visit joycecommunications.com and subscribe today.
And welcome back to our closing segment of today's Eye on Washington on the influence my guest wields here in Washington, D.C. He is Mr. Lee Gibson, the Executive Director of the Regional Transportation Commission of Washoe County. Mr. Gibson, when you look ahead to the future, what's the most important thing for transportation in Nevada?
A couple things. First is getting our projects done, continuing to fund our projects. But I think from a Washington perspective, we all need to start preparing for a new administration and a new president. With the new president will come a new Secretary of Transportation, a new head of the Federal Transit Administration, and a new head of the Federal Highway Administration. We need to get ourselves together as a state, get a consensus on policies, programs, and projects, and be prepared to deal with that new administration, because I think we're going to see some, dramatic changes coming in how we do our business.
Great show. Thanks for being here again. Hope to see you on here again soon.
Thank you.
That is it for this week's Eye on Washington. Be sure to join us next time as we discuss more important federal matters and their impact on you in Nevada. And for news anytime on how federal issues affect you, you can visit our website. It's joycecommunications.com, of course. And while you're there, like us on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and check out any show you missed on YouTube. I am Marilee Joyce in Washington, D.C. Hope you have a great day today.